Let's get to the Trump story, because I think we're looking at this in a way we shouldn't be looking at it. I think it's going to cause us trouble down the road. We have, if you're on the left, you have a decision to make, and a right, you have a decision to make right now. But we'll get to that. Can you take us through, Jason, the timeline and what's really happening?
Yeah. Why does all this break on the weekend? I mean, why can't this break on like Wednesday or something like that? It's always Friday night or Saturday morning when this stuff happens. It's ridiculous.
In other words,
really
I don't want to work.
National security
Right.
style.
Yeah. I'm sorry that the global security is interfering with you.
Well, I think that, Glenn, there's some precedent to what you're saying. When Trump first hired Manafort and Carter Page, I think that set off a lot of warning bells and whistles within the intelligence community, within the FBI.
And explain why, because Manafort is a guy who was, I'm trying to remember which foreign leader it was, really bad guy.
Ukrainian President Yanukovych, who was Putin's boy.
Yeah, really bad guy. Yeah. And he's the reason why we had the Ukrainian uprising. The people were saying, we don't want to be in bed with Russia. It was Paul Manafort that was doing all of that behind the scenes and working right with him. So his connection is 1 degree separation from Vladimir Putin. And Carter Page, is he the banker? Which one is he?
Carter, no one really knows. If you ask, there's been so many media reports on this guy's like the shadow figure. Like somehow he got added on to a foreign policy advisor. But apparently Trump never met him, and most people hadn't met him. But he just got kind of added on.
And what was his business in Europe or in Moscow?
Wasn't it Gazprom, the gas company?
Yeah,
He's an investor, right?
Yeah, either an investor or someone that goes
deal maker.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
Well, he went to Moscow, and he had a meeting with a bunch of like foreign policy advisors and people like that in Moscow. And basically, he was saying, look, what the West is doing is horrible. Russia, you guys are great. We need to, enable you basically to be better, and we're going to advocate, in the future for closer relations. It was very negative on the United States. This is what seemed kind of odd. Well, what was strange was that literally 1 week later, the DNC got hacked. Now, sources say, allegedly, that that's what kind of tipped off our intelligence community, our FBI, that said, whoa, this is very, very weird. In intelligence, there's no such thing as, coincidences. So they were like, there's something strange going on here. That is basically when we saw the first FISA warrant that went out to I think the first one was described as, it was specifically named Trump. It specifically named 3 different people within his organization. And the FISA court said, you can't do that.
So it was the FISA court that released the warrant, or where did that warrant come from?
Well, the Department of Justice and the FBI are the ones that
asked the FISA
they sent it.
exactly asked the FISA
And this
court.
is all alleged at this point.
Yeah.
Cannot confirm any of this.
Right, but they didn't. But you're saying that they didn't go after Trump and his advisors.
Right. Well, they wanted to, but
Right.
then the FISA court said no. Allegedly said no. You cannot do that.
Okay.
So they throw it out. So then it's just this weird flurry after this happens. We have the Steele dossier comes out. It actually gets to the FBI. They look at it. BuzzFeed hasn't dropped it at this point, but the FBI is looking at it. Members of Congress are looking at it. Instantly, you see Carter Page kind of drops off the face of the map. He's gone. Manafort resigns 1 month later. And then the FBI gets even more into it. They start paying Steele, actually put her like
The guy who put the dossier together.
Yep, the guy that put the dossier together. And then this is in October, the same month that the FBI says, okay, there's something to this dossier. They also get the second FISA warrant. This time, they manipulate it a little bit, and they just say, look, we're just going to go after a specific server within Trump Tower that might be communicating with a couple of Russian banks.
So that's the one that was pinging oddly back and forth, right?
Right.
And we couldn't figure out why that server was being pinged by these Russian banks.
Right.
Kind of a weird thing, and nice to know. Not necessarily connected, though, to any of this, right?
Right.
So when he says they were bugging the Trump Tower, no, they were tapped into that one computer.
Right. And that's what's important to put into context now. Like, you have Comey coming out and saying, Look, he's basically asking the Department of Justice to come out and refute everything that Trump said. In my opinion, there's playing a semantics game. Yes, they will come out and say neither the White House nor the president tapped Trump's phones. That's completely true. But what they're not saying is, look, there was a warrant that targeted something within Trump Tower. And in my opinion, we probably won't even hear about that. And that's what's so ridiculous is all these. After this, you see this huge barrage of articles that start coming out. One that targets Flynn, one that targets Sessions, all of this stuff, which I think kind of goes to what you were saying on radio this morning. Now it just seems like politics. It really does. Mm-hmm. Like, in my opinion, what the whole goal and what actually the good stuff that came from this guy is out, and this guy was out. Those are probably your two guilty, in my opinion, those are probably the two guilty parties. They're gone, they're done for. Otherwise, we'd be seeing indictments being rolled out, right? It's been multiple months. They've had time to look at this. They've ultimately said, and people have said this on the record, that, look, we looked into it. There was nothing there. I can't explain anything else of why they'd still be looking at this unless everyone's playing politics. Trump's playing politics, and the media and the left are playing politics.
Okay, so here's what I think on this. And correct me and tell me where I'm wrong. I think we're seeing what could be the beginnings of the Monica Lewinsky blue dress syndrome, which was back in, when did that happen? 98, 97, 98?
Yeah.
The Drudge Report came on the scene. Nobody would report it. And Drudge broke the story. Conservatives who thought we knew who Bill Clinton was, we all jumped on the bandwagon and said, yes, he did. And everybody on the left said, no, he didn't. And we argued, yes, he did, no, he didn't, for about a year. And he forcefully said, I did not do that with that woman. And so the stakes kept going up. It's, yes, he did, no, he didn't, until the blue dress. Once the blue dress happened, then it was, okay, he did, but it doesn't matter. Yes, it does, no, it doesn't. Yes, it does, no, it doesn't. I think we're being set up for the same kind of thing. Jason, you said at the beginning that Donald Trump was going after the intel community, right?
Yeah.
All of this has intel community on it, not Barack Obama. Has the intelligence community, right? This is not new stuff. This is what he's been talking about the whole time, correct?
Yeah.
So when you said the intelligence community, this is a war with the intelligence community, you told us, well, yes, and now he's in real trouble because they have these things, and this is a warning shot. You'll notice he didn't strike at the intelligence community. He struck at Barack Obama. Intelligence community, we still kind of trust and believe. Barack Obama, half the country doesn't trust him. So he's rallying his base with Barack Obama as opposed to the intelligence community. Barack Obama and the left now has that to rally themselves against. Look at, he's attacking Barack Obama. He's not attacking the Democratic Party. He's attacking an icon of the Democrats. So he's attacking Barack Obama. Now both can make money. They can super juice their own constituents. And if they ever come out with this stuff, he's inoculated himself. Because yes, he did, but it doesn't matter. It's Obama, Obama, Obama. To the right, it will all be about Obama, Obama, Obama. To the left, it'll all be about Trump, and we'll say Obama shouldn't have been tapping. The things that we have to talk about is, should the president be able to tap? That's the Patriot Act. That's the FISA courts. No FISA court should exist. No secret courts should exist. If you don't have the evidence, you shouldn't be able to tap, period. So the president should not have that power of the FISA court. And the other side, if they release something that has anybody in the White House speaking to the Russians about anything that we shouldn't be speaking about, does it matter? Because all the right will do, if they release that phone call or whatever it is, the right will just say, it doesn't matter. Obama shouldn't have done it in the first place. So the left has to decide, Should the president have this much power? The answer is no. And the right needs to decide, should somebody in the Oval Office be talking to the Russians about things that they shouldn't be talking to the Russians about? And the answer there is no. But we need to be on the record now, because otherwise all we're going to do is go down this road where it's Barack versus Trump.
My only issue with what you just said is I don't know if we can, in this day and age, I don't know how we can exist without some kind of FISA court type entity.
Why? All you have to do is go to a regular judge and say, Judge, here's the evidence that I have. The FISA warrant wasn't issued the first time, so can you imagine how weak that case must have been?
Yeah.
If what we heard is true.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. And think about this. In the almost 40-year history of the FISA court, only 12 times have they denied an application.
13.
13 now. 13. 13 out of almost 3,500, which also shows you the level of failure. If it's accurate that Obama and his group wanted this investigation, it was so broad that they got turned down by the FISA court. What a fail. That shows they were going after
That should show you they have nothing.
They were fishing.
They have nothing. And you don't have a right to fish.
And it does show you, to your point, that we don't trust the intelligence community, and I think that's a disturbing thought. If the intelligence community is being political here, and they've engaged in granting these, the second FISA warrant, that's a disturbing thought for the American people. And I think it's more comfortable, like you said, to believe that it did come from the administration than to believe that our whole intelligence community is corrupt.
But let me play the devil's advocate here. Take away, and this is the problem, we keep making it about people instead of ideas. Take away Barack Obama and Donald Trump.
It's the principle.
Okay, the principle. The DNC, we know, was hacked. We know that. We think it was by the Russians. Isn't that important enough to be able to go to a court, any court, not a secret court, and just say, the DNC was hacked, we need to know who?
But the whole thing with the FISA court, though, is that it has to do with a foreign intelligence service that's targeted the United States, and there's a foreign agent in the country. So that, in effect, it's classified so secret that you can't just go to some random judge.
But the thing, though, is that's the excuse that, and I know where you're coming from, that military and my friends in the FBI always use. But when you get back to the principle, there's this divide. There's libertarians who believe in the principle, like Ben Franklin did, of, you know, don't give up any liberty for the thought of potential security. So there's the libertarian base, then there's the conservative base, and really I would say more Republican, that says I'll give up anything for the thought of security, and it's the idea that I'm not in the military, I'm not in intelligence, I don't know, therefore it has to be a secret court, and I just don't think that's true.
Can I build off that? Because I think I know where Jason's going. The purpose of a secret court is if we went to a regular court and said,
the word is secret, though.
hold on.
Problem.
If I go to a regular court and I publicly make it public knowledge that we suspect a foreign agent within an American institution, we've just tipped off the foreign government that we're looking at.
It's not being used for that. Like Glenn said, though, why couldn't this warrant be public? The court is not being used for that.
You can go to get a warrant, and it doesn't have to be public. Right. You can go to a regular court and say, I'm after John Gotti, and you don't publish that in the newspaper.
And those
the deal is, the standard is so low in a FISA court.
And those happen all the time in a regular FBI warrant for surveillance. That happens all the time. Right. FISA is a completely different animal. It has to do with foreign intelligence, and they're not received all willy-nilly. It's not like, oh, we think that there might be. There's already evidence, usually.
Who's to say that they're not going to do it towards a regular, everyday citizen?
Less than a third of 1% of the time. Is there anybody here that thinks government gets it right that often? Hell, shouldn't they have at least been denied 20% of the time, for Pete's sake? It's government.
And in this particular case, it shows that there is a problem, because if they're only rejecting a handful over 20 years, excuse me, this one is rejected? What evidence did they have? Back in a minute.